Investments in the securities market are subject to market risks. Read all the related documents carefully before investing.
Hello everyone, welcome to yet another Face to Face. Friends, in a quest to get maximum knowledge and wisdom from market veterans, I've been trying to connect with a lot of people who probably are not so known, but they are doing incredible work in the domain of investing and trading. Today, I had amazing opportunity to interact with someone with 40 years of market experience in different avatars. Someone who started as a sub-broker, then became a trader, then investing full-time with lot of mistakes, lot of learning and lot of wisdoms. So this face-to-face with Mr. Sudhir Mahajan is going to open your mind like never before. In this video, first part, we're going to talk about him, everything we want to take from him about him, and in the next video, we're going to divide the whole discussion in a very structured manner. How to identify the companies in stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. So you have to watch both the videos to get the full from this amazing gentleman, Mr. Sudhir Mahajan. Let's welcome him. Hello Sudhir, very good evening. Welcome to my video.
Hi Vivek, it's nice to see you.
I was so tempted to call you sir, but you made me extremely comfortable by allowing me to use your first name. Thank you so much.
Right here.
So Sudhirji, almost 40 years of experience in market. This is like real experience. 40 years में आपने कम से कम 5 cycles देख चुके हैं, बड़ी cycles market की.
Maybe even more. I just was saying that when I started my career, it was way back in 82, and Century was the market leader.
Okay.
And Tisco was called Ordinary, and we were having that Sumti Jamna thing crisis going on.
Okay.
Where the exchange put in a price band. You can't trade below this rate.
Okay.
And Indians being Indians and stock market ustads were so smart. They were exchanging deliveries by pinning cash with the transfer deed and the certificate.
Acha.
To meet the certificate, the price bands.
Okay.
So, I've seen those days. I've seen now the demat things. Settlements used to take 45 days, 60 days those days. Today we get it in 24 hours, the payment.
Yeah.
So the things have changed a lot, and I was part of the outcry system.
Okay.
The outcry system also is it was a very nice, cozy thing if you looked at it. But we could not have ever done the kind of volumes we are doing now if we continued with the same outcry systems and other things.
Okay.
I don't know if you have seen the outcry system.
Yes, I was fortunate because my father was member of Calcutta Stock Exchange. So
Okay.
especially during the Diwali days when everyone was so colorfully dressed, and we used to see that whole experience.
Yeah, Motor trading is always a special day.
It's always a special day. Correct.
It is
So
a
you were
real
in which city, sir? Which city? You were in?
Bangalore.
Bangalore. So Bangalore Stock Exchange used to be big.
We were pretty big.
Okay.
Volume wise, we were pretty big. I think Bombay was the largest.
Okay.
Delhi, Calcutta, Bangalore, Chennai.
Okay.
Chennai had its own stocks, but we were doing a lot of arbitrage and other things. There were quite a few brokers who were running lines between Calcutta and Bangalore.
Yeah.
And lines between Bangalore and Bombay. And information was at premium. I still remember we going to Bombay Stock Exchange, running to Flora, taking a lightning call to the exchange to try to buy something in Bangalore to, the price arbitrage.
Yes. And
So
there used
those
to
are,
be hotlines, specific dedicated.
hotlines were also, some of the brokers had hotlines.
Yeah.
That was a little later. Hotlines came in a little later.
Okay. So you started in 82. You started as member of the exchange, or you started as
No. I actually, what happened was, in 82, I started off as a sub-broker.
Oh.
I was in 12th standard when I just got into this. I went to my father's broker and told him, I want to be a sub broker. I didn't know what it meant, nothing.
Okay.
I just wanted some pocket money.
That's nice.
And I was interested in the stock markets for many years.
Okay.
My dad used to invest in the IPO, especially the Ferra disinvestments.
Hmm.
So, and I was a very ferocious reader. So I used to go to the library, the British Council, and read a lot of magazines and books and other things. And one of my favorite magazine was The Banker. I don't know whether that magazine is still available now. So I used to read a lot of that, and somehow it got me interested in the stock markets. And then, luckily for me, in 8th standard, economics was introduced into our curriculum
Okay.
for the ICSE.
Okay.
And I think that was like, a phenomenal time for me because I learned a lot about economics, and it helped me evolve as a investor. What will you call it? I don't know what I was those days. I didn't have money,
Okay.
but I didn't invest. So then I got into Commerce College,
Okay.
and I was into too many activities, so I was always short on money. The pocket money is too little. So
Okay.
I started off. A friend of mine had talked about the stock markets, and he was a broker in Bombay.
Okay.
So I heard about him and from him, and then I said, let me try it in Bangalore. And I started it. The first issue I did was Deepak Fertilizer.
Wow.
Uh, distributing the forms and trying to get applications. And way back in, this is 82 or something. So, and I still remember the first order I got for a purchase of shares was 500 shares of SPIC.
Oh, SPIC, Mr. It was Chennai-based company, right?
Chennai based, Southern Petroleum.
Yeah, Southern Petroleum. Yeah.
Mutaya.
Yeah.
Okay. So it was the very thing I took, collected the deliveries, went cycling 10, 12 kilometers to this client's place, gave him the certificates, and he offered me, Sudhir, would you have a beer? I said, fine. When getting a free beer, I said, let's try it out. I was also sometimes having it. But, when you're a student, anything free is always welcome.
Yeah, absolutely.
So very nicely, he offered me a beer and everything. And when he cut out the check, he reduced 7 rupees from that and gave me the check.
Hilarious.
I was too stunned to say anything. I just got the check, gave it to the broker, and they went half my brokerage. But these are times when you look back at it today, it's so funny,
Yeah. So you worked as a sub broker for how many years, and then you took your own membership, right?
I worked as a sub broker for about 3 years.
Okay.
And then I became an authorized assistant to a stockbroker.
Okay.
And then I became a member of the stock exchange. By the time I was 23, I was a member of the Bangalore Stock Exchange.
Wow. And this was
without having any background, like, godfathers or... It was good times.
Yeah.
And I don't know what... I was basically trading a lot of, proprietary trading and jobbing.
Oh.
Mainly was jobbing.
Okay. And that time it was a pit trading jobbing, so it was different from the job that's being on screen right now.
Yeah, we used to give a call, I don't know if you remember the calls, the call system of trading.
Yeah.
So
the hand gestures as well. The hand gestures as well, when you want to buy something, there were hand gestures.
So but the outcome, it was not so much the hand signal, was basically loud and otherwise all is just on the thing. But give credit to the system. There were very, very few Sauda differences.
Yeah.
It was unheard of having a Sauda difference.
Yeah.
But when you look back today, I think there was much more honor those days. We never had a soda difference, never.
Yeah.
And those days we had deliveries which were physically exchanged,
Yeah.
and
There were bad deliveries, sir, quite a lot.
bad deliveries tha,
Yeah.
but you never lost certificates.
Yeah.
They were, you'd have that small settlement room of the stock exchange, and rows of stocks used to be flowing all over.
Yeah.
But we never had thefts or anyone losing certificates and
That's true.
all that. You know, that's what actually got me sometimes thinking that, there was something more honor. And I think the thing was, our word was, our bond was taken very, very seriously.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unlike today, where I don't think quite a few of the brokers are okay. Today it's much better because everything is recorded and
Yeah.
other things.
Now I think technology is taking care of that part.
Yes, it's enforcing the discipline.
Yeah.
But that time there was self-discipline.
True.
You're coming from a broker's background, you'd understand that.
True. Sir, the way I'm going to structure this discussion is because I have so much to take from you. 40 years I want to take in a couple of minutes. So I will structure the discussion. So
As
this
you wish.
video will be all about you, some experiences of life. And next video, which is a Friday 5 p.m. video, there I want to touch on your current method of identifying stocks and building large positions in these stocks, and in turn building large wealth from that large position. So continuing to your previous experiences, sir, we just want to change the tangent a bit. And you have been there, done that. You have seen the entire evolution of market. Your generation, there were clear classification of people who believed in market, which was a very small population, and there was a large population always who said that stock market is a scamming place. यहाँ खाली सट्टा
पता है.
है, यहाँ कुछ नहीं होता है. So take us through that journey of so many scams which has happened in India. How have you dealt with all those scams? Why those happened? And also how you were able to stick to your principles even though there was too many noise around individuals. I mean, largely scams were driven by individuals, right, during that time. So if you can share some experiences.
Just a thing aside,
Yeah.
in 89 or so, I was in the stock exchange sitting with the then acting president of the stock exchange. And the PM, we're just having a chai, and PN आता है बोलता है, सर कोई बॉम्बे से ब्रोकर आया है. And he gave the card. The card was Harshad Mehta, sorry. Harshad Mehta. We didn't know who he is. We made him wait for 1.5 hours outside.
Oh my God.
Huh? पता नहीं कौन था. So we made him wait for 1.5 hours while we were having a chai and gossiping, and then called him in, and he said that one of the Bangalore brokers has defaulted to the tune of 9 lakhs or something, and he wanted help from the stock exchange to resolve that issue. So we literally chased him out of the thing, and that was in 89 or something, 88 or 89, I don't remember exactly. And then history how Harshad Mehta went up the thing. So we had lots of things, and some of the people who were involved in those things, I knew them a little bit here and there. Personally, I had made a lot of money in the Harshad Mehta boom.
Okay.
And I lost everything after the boom.
Oh my God.
And I had actually, we had before that, we had started around that time, we had started India's first full services financial services company.
Oh, okay.
Around the same time, just after the boom, just around the same time.
Okay.
And I was more interested in deal making those days.
Okay.
And one of the deals we were very, very close to closing out was Vaishya Bank.
Okay.
And I had got connected with GP Goenka from Calcutta and the Duncan Groups, if you remember that.
Yes, yes.
And they were supposed to buy the bank. They had got the approvals from the RBI, and Harshad Mehta boom exploded, and the deal went fut. So, we were negotiating with a few other things, but RBI was not willing to give any leeway to anyone to touch a bank those days
Okay.
after the scam. So, the Harshad Mehta scam, that was the main damage that it caused me. Otherwise, then we had the Ketan Parekh thing, but there it didn't hurt me as much because I got out of most of the counters, and in between 98 and about 2010, I was out of the markets more into the real estate side,
Okay.
and that was hindsight, some of the best years of the stock markets which I missed out.
Yeah, but what's the reason, sir?
Actually, क्या हुआ था in 95, 96, I went through a very bad patch.
Oh,
And I had lost a lot of money, and I was trying to rebuild my capital.
this was out. I mean, you're talking about stock market, you lost a lot of money.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
you use real estate to recoup.
Yeah, I was trying to use the real estate to recoup my this thing, and hindsight, it paid off. But
Yeah.
I was never happy in the real estate thing, and I work like a dog, but the results are not as we expect them to be.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, getting payments in the real estate markets are very difficult.
Okay.
Especially when I was trying to deal only with the brokers, I mean with the builders and others. I don't think they're very, I was from the stock market background where, we say something, we stick to it. But very few builders stick to what they say. I know a lot of builders may not like this.
But abhi situation change ho gaya na after this RERA and other regulatory intervention. Things have become
Yes,
better.
yes, to an extent, it is much, much, much better. But I am totally nearly out of the real estate market, other than my personal investments, which have been there for some years.
Okay. So
And
this Ketan Parekh rally, the K10 stocks, the most famous and infamous Ketan rally, you were not, party to that.
I wrote a few of those counters. I did write a few of those counters, like I think it was RS Software,
Yeah.
DSQ, and Pentamin. But I got out very fast. Rolta was there.
Yeah.
So some of these I got, most of them I got out. I didn't get stuck much in that because I was not paying much attention into the stock markets that particular time. Maybe, and actually, in those days I was more a trader than a investor.
Okay.
I've always been a very good investor. The monies which I was making as an investor was going to fund my losses as a trader.
Okay.
So I could never build up the kind of purpose that I needed to, as an investor, a serious investor, to do it. And actually, very funnily, one trade changed my mind totally. I think it was 2004 or 2005, I don't remember. Infosys came out with decent results and the market tanked.
Okay.
And I thought the markets tanked sufficiently. I picked up quite a bit of Infosys and it tanked further.
Okay.
And I ended up losing quite a bit of money. And that's what got me thinking, and I said, oh, there's something wrong with what I'm doing. I had to sell out a lot of my other positions, my investments, to pay for that loss. It was a pretty large loss. So
And
that's
that
what
was-
changed me.
So sorry to interrupt in the middle, sir. That was derivative position, because why will you sell if there is any loss? You don't have to do mark to market, right?
It was a derivative position,
But so
and it's a large position.
okay.
So and so I had to sell a lot of other stuff to make good that thing.
Yeah.
And I realized that there's no fun in doing this again and again and again. I'm just doing it repeatedly, doing the same nonsense. So I changed over to becoming a full-time investor.
Okay. This was when, sir? Which year?
Over
2000?
2005, 2004, I don't remember exactly.
Okay. And since then, you have been an investor. There is no intermediary business. There is no trading happening.
No, I gave up broking very in very early in life, because what I realized is you're making 0.5%, 1%, and
Yeah.
carry 100% of the risk.
Yeah. I mean, that time, yes, because client can refuse. I will not give you money. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had a lot of client defaults,
Oh.
and that was, it hurts. And then bad deliveries were there, everything was there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then chasing the clients for the bad deliveries. It was difficult. They're difficult days.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'd given up being a broker many years thing. And I had gone through some, I hadn't given up my card by that time.
Mm-hmm.
So after that, I was on my own. I told you we set up India's first financial services industry company. We were a full services, including research.
Oh,
I had three chartered accountants working for me.
this was in Bangalore.
Yeah,
Oh.
it was very early. And this was I'd started this company along with Mr. Mohandas Pai of Infosys. We had not joined Infosys then.
Oh my goodness. What a man to be associated.
Yeah, a great guy, good
Yeah.
friend. And we, the highlights of the 80s was both of us going to the AGMs of different companies
Mm.
and fighting for corporate governance and shouting for corporate governance.
Oh, Mr.
Very
Pai
early.
was a very serious investor, huh?
He was an investor.
Lovely.
He was a pretty large investor. Okay, he was also a student quite some time, and then he's just starting off.
Nice.
And then he was the executive director of a listed company which we had all started it together. A lot of friends.
Mhm.
Ideas putting together, and one of another friends financed it and thing. And then he was the executive director of that, and then he left and joined Infosys after that.
Wow.
So
And you got into the journey of full-time investing thereafter.
yeah, according to the thing of this thing. But I told you up to 2005, I was more a trader.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had a trading mentality with the investment. क्या बोलते हैं? How do I explain?
Yeah.
Thinking.
Yeah.
Thinking was so the clash was too much.
So you regret that you got into this slightly, I mean, a bit late, or you could have done it earlier?
You can never regret anything. There's no point in regretting anything in life.
Ah.
And this is something what my father taught me.
Hmm.
When I dropped out of college in second BCom, I didn't tell him that I've dropped out of college. 6 months later, I told him, Dad, I've dropped out of college. I'm not learning anything in college. So I'm doing shares full time,
Lovely.
jobbing and nothing.
So you're not even a graduate.
I'm not even a graduate.
That's amazing.
So Dad just told me one thing: whatever you do, don't regret it. And I followed his advice. I had lots of ups and downs, done lots of stupid things, intelligent things. I don't regret anything at all.
That's amazing.